So hair and makeup's all done with you? They're done
Yeah.
with you? You good? Okay.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Real Estate Makes Us Drink. Brian Quinlan here from Daniel's Real Estate.
Hey, Brad Nickham from Nest Mortgage Group.
Bro, look at that shirt.
Oh, I know.
I'm digging it. You've worn it on the show before,
Yeah,
but I don't know.
my kids, Blake and Pam, got this for me for Christmas.
Now that we're approaching warmer weather, it really hits.
Yeah, it screams, go, baby, go.
Hey, you may notice next to me is yet another guest. Sir, tell the folks who you are.
Oh, no. I am Jake Burgess. Professionally, I own a few restaurants from the FoxGardin brand that encompasses FoxGardin in Fortville, Indiana, as well as the Fishers location. We also have a fast casual spot inside Sun King Spirits in Carmel, Indiana.
All right.
We recently purchased the world-famous Bonge's Tavern in Perkinsville, Indiana, and we opened a spot in Lapel, Indiana as well called Smoky's, which is fried chicken, pizza, and barbecue. So scratch kitchen food. I was a professional chef. I was a fine dining chef for a long time and basically got tired of wearing a tie to work and eating $60 steaks every day. So I thought, how do you give really, really, really good food and really good service in a relaxed atmosphere? So that's where our brand kind of took its legs.
You started that with, well, professionally I do this. Is there something you do on an amateur basis?
Well, I mean, you know, I dabbled maybe a little bit of everything, but no, I mean, that's kind of my my identity. I've kind of put myself into the brand and into the restaurants, and so I kind of I'm the FoxGardin Jake is kind of where my my identity lies.
I'm sure you're a very busy gentleman with all those businesses going on. So thanks for coming out here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Greatly appreciate it.
And with that voice, I'm surprised he's not helping you do games. 'Cause good
I always
Lord,
said I had a face for radio, so we'll see what happens.
got
Yeah.
the voice for it.
All right, brother. What tequila are you drinking today?
Well, I just did a great interview with Juan Pena, the owner of
Hola, Juan.
Tierra.
Sure, he's watching the show.
No, he's not. Tierra de Libertad, which is a
Tierra.
Tierra
You got the Libertad part.
Libertad,
Good job.
which is a really nice tequila. And then he also owns Prolijo, which is a mezcal brand and also a tequila brand. It's really good. So I figured I'd pour that Blanco tonight. And then for Jake, I poured him Sol tu Noches, which is a Sotol, which is a whole different type product. You have to check that out on my
Super interesting, little buttery. I appreciate the introduction. It's really
little
nice.
smoky.
Yeah, it's got a. I think it touches a lot of things. So, really unique product.
Touches a lot of things. Well,
And let me put a plug out there for Old Smoky in Lapel.
Yeah.
Because I'm a rib guy.
Yep.
And I usually drive all the way to Nashville to eat at like the Peg Leg Porker. And your ribs are the best ribs
Oh, nice.
I've been able to find anywhere in Indiana and rival all of the great places I've ate at.
Good ribs are such that unique thing where everybody thinks they're supposed to be fall off the bone, when in reality they should have a little bit of bite to them, a little bit of texture, a little bit of kind of, you know, the fun. So when somebody appreciates it as much, it's nice to hear that.
my issue with ribs is it's a lot of work for just not enough reward.
Yeah.
So I tend not to order them.
Off the ribs for you.
Well,
Great for a first date.
I like barbecue. I like pulled pork, but
Yeah.
I don't need the bones.
I
It's
get you.
fine.
Pull it yourself.
Anyway,
It's fantastic.
thanks for asking. So, I have yet another Sun King beer. Hello, Kevin Smolar and our friends at Sun King. You know, I don't normally like IPAs, Brad.
You
However,
told me that.
when we went to do our Sun King tour with Kevin, he introduced me to GFJ, which is their version of an IPA. And I was like, this is really an IPA? It's really good.
And so tasting it today, is it the same as when you tasted it?
I
then?
did
'Cause
have a lot of drinks that
I'm
day.
going to say you might have been bordering on inebriated.
There was no border, but no, it's still good. It does have kind of that IPA, bite to it that I tend to say they all taste the same. But yeah, I could drink several of these.
Well, thanks for Sun King for hooking
That's
us up
right.
with beer.
Thanks,
Appreciate it very
Kevin.
much.
And I just want to point out, I'm drinking this in my brand new to me Crow's Nest Cup from Augusta, Georgia. As last week I was down at the Masters practice round, and it was pretty sensational.
How'd you shoot?
There was no shooting. It was just watching.
You made it to practice, but I didn't see you made the
I made it to practice. I did not make the
The
cut.
guy who brought his clubs a couple years ago.
No.
He got tickets to. There was a gentleman that was foreign, and he,
Oh, okay.
and he got practiced round,
Okay.
and he brought his clubs to Augusta. And they were like, "Hey, man," he's like,
What
"Well,
are
I
you
got
doing?"
my ticket." And he's like, you get to watch us practice.
Appreciate your ambition.
Yeah,
You know,
I thought
it's
he was
funny.
going to go play Augusta. I got tickets to go practice at Augusta.
I had never been there before, and many people afterwards asked me, "Did you get? Did you watch any of the players? Did you see any of the players?" I'm like, I did not care. I was there to see the golf course.
It's immaculate.
It is unbelievable, and yes, I did see players out there, hitting golf balls around, and that was cool. But they're not. They're out there getting a feel for the course. They're hitting several shots from the same spot. It's just not the same as watching them play an actual round of golf. So in and of itself, that's cool. But I just didn't care. If no one was out there, I would have walked the golf course and been like, "This is the most amazing."
Now, do you
place.
get to have your phones on practice day or no?
No,
So, no
still
phones
no.
even practice day.
Cameras, yes.
Did you see any celebrities or anything?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Supposedly,
Did you see DeChambeau?
actually, I did not. My friends did because it was like right near it was within the last half hour of our time to be there. And the guys were just walking as we were kind of heading towards the exit, and they came around the corner, and there was DeChambeau on, it was like 16.
How much did you pay in the? How much apparel did you buy? Thousands of dollars.
I only spent like $335 bucks. This being one of them, but
I
this
expected
in
it to-
itself was $125.
Yeah. My buddy.
This is the best value on the course, man.
Free.
A beer for $6, and I get to keep the cup. I mean, come on.
They say they make them green so that if they ever fall, you don't see it on TV. Everything is green. So
Well, I'll
trash
say
green,
this is the beers come in green, but the sodas, they come in opaque sort of white cups. Maybe just to tell the difference so they know who's drinking alcohol, who's not. I don't know. I don't care. I got a few of
You went
those.
to Augusta. That's all. It counts.
I got to be there.
Did you watch traffic come in to see if you seen Scotty Scheffler at all?
I did not.
He was-
We were trying to find Scotty Scheffler on the course as one of the players we wanted to see, but we never caught up to him.
He was stuck in traffic.
He was. He was
no longer.
He was talking to the police.
He no longer goes around any cars.
He does
just
not.
stays in
Well, he probably
traffic.
just doesn't drive himself. Just stop doing that,
He learned.
Scotty.
Good stuff. I'm glad you got to go. That's definitely my bucket list.
It's spectacular.
Super Bowl in Augusta, I think. Me, a friend of mine, we did anytime there's a Game 7, we want to go. So
Yeah.
we bought tickets to Game 7 World Series in NHL. So basketball and then the Super Bowl are all kind
Which
of.
do you remember which World Series you saw?
It was the Astros and the Washington Nationals.
The Nationals.
Yeah, but the
That-
game
that's
ended
a
on
couple- that was a couple years
on
ago.
Wednesday at midnight. We bought tickets at 12:05 and flew down the next day because it was Game 7 was.
Oh man.
We got 14 minutes of sleep. It was great.
At Houston, right?
Yeah,
Did you
yeah,
play
it was
Houston?
incredible.
Yeah, I was in Cabo San Lucas. And my friend owned Sancho's, and they shut the bar down for the Astros to play.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and I have a Sancho's hat that you've seen it. That's the Astros colors from that year.
yep. So Masters and Super Bowl are on my list, so it'll be super neat.
Okay. Well, there you go.
There you go.
All right. Start us off.
So Jake, tell us where you're from.
I am from a little town called Fortville, Indiana. Around here.
Yeah.
I grew up in Fortville. Do you want to know a
Which high
story?
school did you go to?
That's Mount Vernon. Yeah,
Mount Vernon
Mount
guy.
Vernon.
And
Mount
what-
Vernon 04.
You graduated in 04.
04 for show.
So
Like,
my daughter is 36.
Okay. A couple years behind.
Just a couple years behind you. Brittany Nickham, that's my
Mhm.
daughter. So
Yeah, so I was my dad had an auction company, and it was a way for, and this is what he always told us later on, is that it was a time for us to be able to spend together. So my mom was the clerk, and my brother was the ring guy, and me and my sister were the concessions, and so everybody on Friday night we got to hang out. And
Right.
so when I was 7 years old, he gave me the last $100 he ever gave me. He said, "Go buy hot dogs and chips and soda and all that stuff." And so I went and bought $100 worth of stuff, and then sold it at the auction. And then the next day or the next week, we had to go buy inventory. So basically, he kind of was teaching me,
Yeah.
inventory and food costs and that sort of stuff at a young age. And then I kind of just had a knack for it. And when I was 15, I got a
You
job.
were 7?
7.
Like you
Seven,
said,
my
and I
sister's
went
9.
and bought. Like, where does the 7 go?
Yeah. So I remember as a specific story is that, like back in the day, CVS, or I think it was Revco at the time, or whatever it was called. And they had like $3.99 24 packs
Okay.
of Coke, and you could only buy limit 2. So we would drive like 9 different CVS's to get the limit on the Cokes. And,
Wow,
it was
so
cheaper
funny.
for $3.99 than it was at Kroger at $4.90. So, I mean, I was learning how to save a buck.
Side story, I'm older than you. My wife and I are both 51.
Yeah.
She will often tell a story about when she was a kid easily like single digits, so 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Her mom would give her money to go down to the corner drugstore and buy her cigarettes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, isn't that crazy?
I was like, what?
Yeah, they're for my mom. Like,
Yeah.
okay, here you go, kid.
Okay, here you go.
Here's the nugget on, you said you're going to make like a ding noise whenever there's a nugget
Sure.
a guest shares about success. If you've got kids, teach them how to own a business when they're 7 years old. Don't teach them go to college and then hope you get a good job and work there, because you could lose that job.
For sure.
And there's a difference between that and having a kid who has chores at home that you give them a regular allowance, whether they do the damn chores or not. You give them $5 a week.
Yeah.
That's not the same as what you're talking about.
Yeah.
This is teaching you a whole
Actual skill.
skill set. Yeah. And it's not a bad idea to have the kids like in the back room sewing shoes together.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Well, then, so then I started a little pizza joint in town called Mozzie's when I was 15.
You started that?
I didn't start it, but that's where I started.
Okay.
When I was
Started
15.
working at
I started
Mozzie's,
working there as a dishwasher, worked my way up. I was assistant manager, when I was 16, 17. And then I went to college to get out of the restaurant. I was like, man, this is it. I've done this. I don't want to do it. And I had to work my way through college. So I worked at little restaurants around town went to Ball State. And
Can I ask, what'd you go to college for?
I started I wanted to be on the radio. I wanted to be
I see why.
a newscaster or whatever. And I got up there and was like, oh, they don't make any money. This is awful.
No, they do not.
So then I went into money. I was like, I want to be a radiologist. I want to be into radiology.
All right.
And the girl,
It took radio and radio.
Yeah,
They put it
exactly.
together.
But the girl in front of me in anatomy class couldn't pass anatomy, so therefore I couldn't pass anatomy.
Sure.
So I wasn't very studious. I was just a hard worker, and so I couldn't remember the frontal lobe. I couldn't remember all the lobes and the arteries and that sort of
Difference
stuff. So then I
between
just was
tibia
like,
and
oh, I'm
fibula.
good at restaurants. So I went into food and hospitality, and about 2 semesters into that, I was like, this is stupid. I'm going to be an assistant manager at an Applebee's if I get this degree. That's what it was. It was like, I know all this stuff already. So I dropped out of school. I found the best restaurant in Muncie. It was called Vera Mae's. And I went and worked for them, and I kind of just worked my way up. 5 days after I turned 21, I moved to Valdosta, Georgia. I worked for some of the most talented chefs in the South there.
What's up, Kenny Moore?
Yeah. Worked at a couple restaurants down there and kind of cut my teeth, and then moved back to Indy and made a name for myself kind of in steakhouses and restaurants around, and basically was corporate executive chef of a fine dining steakhouse, Prime 47. And
So was there ever chef school involved?
every time I was getting ready to go to culinary school, I would either get a raise or promotion.
Ah.
And so I was like,
So
shit, I
learned on the job.
Yeah, I'm like, man, I'm getting paid to go to school. So, and I really kind of seeked out really talented chefs. And so they let me cut my teeth, and they kind of garnished, kind of took me under their wing and showed me the things I needed to know. And then once I kind of got to the fine dining level, I was like, man, and I'd always wanted to open a restaurant, and so I started to really dive into the stuff I wasn't good at. So I started to go to front of house meetings and budget meetings and so I kind of just was like a sponge on everything I could. And I was 27 years old when I opened my first restaurant.
Only mildly related. Have you seen the show The Bear?
I have, yes.
Thoughts?
It's the most realistic. It pisses me off, but it's good.
It pisses me off that it's in the comedy category, because that's BS.
Yeah. But it's definitely the most accurate for the industry.
Every time I hear the word chef in my head, yes, chef is coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's a hierarchy, but the industry's changed over the last 20 years. It's changed over the last 10 years. It's changed over the last 5 years. And it's even changed over the last 2 years. And probably even the last 8 months. This industry is nothing what it looked like 15, 20 years ago. It is definitely a whole different animal. And so the evolution of what we do or how we do it is ever evolving. And so it's definitely keeps you on your toes and that sort of stuff. So, it's been fun, but it's definitely aged me. I used to be young, skinny, and vibrant. Now I'm just old, tired, and fat.
Well, if you want to run a marathon with us, we're running one in January. It's a great way to slim down.
I'm literally on a path right now that I've kind of talked to myself over the last 2 weeks. Where I'm like, what are you doing? Where I was years ago, we were just so active and fun and that sort of stuff, and I'm like, I need to get
Time for action.
Vibrant again.
Time for action.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I will say, I love Brad Schaefer. He's a great guy, but Prime 47's never been the same since you aren't down there.
No, they do a great
slinging the food.
No, they do a great job. They've evolved as well, and so it's fun to see them. We're still friends, and we support them. They support us. So
Was Brad involved when
Brad
you were
was on his way in when I was on the way out.
Okay, that's
He
what I
had a
thought.
small piece, I think, maybe when I was there, and then you kept growing and growing and growing and growing, and I was kind of on my way out. So me and Brad we know each other. I still call him for tickets and reservations.
He's a great guy for
and stuff.
tickets.
So,
He's your ticket guy.
So
He can get you tickets to probably Taylor Swift's house
he
right
could,
now
yeah,
if you
he
wanted.
could, yeah.
Wow.
It'd cost you an arm and a leg.
It would.
Not to bring it down, but I've not been to any of your restaurants.
It's all good, man. No,
Brad has talked about them multiple times, and there will come a time when we're going to go.
There are a ton. The industry and the food scene has really grown, and so you find your places that you like. We've kind of been a destination restaurant. And the fact that we're in Fortville and that sort of stuff. It's a little off the beaten path, but I tell people, I'm 31 minutes to downtown Indianapolis. I'm 3.1 miles to Geist Reservoir. We're kind of in that. We're 3 miles to 69. We're just so close to everything that it's like. It's not that far. Or, hey, we're going to go have an experience. So
I will say for me, I'm on the south side.
Yeah.
So
well, you're 2 turns. I tell people
Let's
465 to 70. You're right
That's a
there,
good
man.
point.
There you go.
Is there anything south side Indy?
So I'm working on a project now. We've got our finger in a little thing. This is not.
Is this breaking news?
This is not. This I shouldn't bring this up. I shouldn't bring this up. But we are looking at it, and we get the opportunity or the calls weekly, monthly. Hey, you should come here, come here, come here. And it's what I can handle, and it's like I don't want to dilute our brand. First of all, I don't want to stretch us too thin, and so when the right project comes alive, the right project comes alive. Right now, we've got a really cool opportunity that would be probably we're out on the south side area.
69 and 465.
Yeah,
We'd
we'd have a spot about 10 minutes from you if it goes through, but it's hard to.
It sounds
I'd
like
love
that
to be down
probably
there.
starts with a burgers and then.
I'd love to be from anywhere from Bargersville to to Plainfield to what's that 5 Points Road or wherever that's around there. I'd love to be in those 3 areas. I mean, I think that there's a lot of cool stuff going on, and I think it's still a little bit of a food desert. And so,
for sure.
Especially for your type of restaurant.
Yeah, and I'd love to be there. It's just the capability, the capacity that I can do, and I don't have that. And it's like I'm so passionate about our industry that if I can't do it right, then I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So tell me about your facility in Fortville is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's fun.
And how did you when you opened there? People still thought the fort closed down when the military left. Yeah. Fortville wasn't what it is today.
No.
Today there's some great
restaurants,
and it's got a great downtown vibe to it. But how did you find that building, and what did it take to turn that building for where FoxGardin is into a restaurant?
Yeah, no, it's kind of a funny story. If you got a few minutes, I think we do.
We got time.
So there was a restaurant there. There was a bar there called the Georgetowner.
Okay.
And it was a freezer to fryer, Friday night fights kind of place where, it was just, you went in there, it was a little rough and tumble, cigarettes.
Freezer to fryer. I've never heard that. That makes so much sense.
Yeah. It was kind of one of those places. And I was like, man, this is just so underutilized. I said, man, I'd come home and visit mom and dad. I grew up in Fortville. So I'd come home and visit mom and dad or whatever. And I'd be like, man, I want a burger and a beer. And you just couldn't do it. You couldn't do it unless you wanted to fight or if you wanted to smoke or, and I was like, I just don't want that. And so I was kind of on my way at the Steakhouse, and I had my hat in a couple different places that I was applying for, and this place came available. So I went in, I talked to the guy, and he had just bought the building. And I was like, what are you going to do this, man? He goes, well, I rented it out. And he'd rented it out to another guy. And I said, well, here's my number. If anything falls through, give me a call. He said, well, so I called me a month later, and he's like, dude, he goes, this fell through. I got a couple people looking at it. Give me your LOI. So I gave him a little LOI, and came back. He's finally like, dude.
I apologize. What's LOI?
Letter of intent.
Thank you.
Yeah. So here's what I'll do. Here's what I can afford. Here's what I want to do.
All right.
Commercial.
I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was 27 years old. I'm just Googling like how to open a business, And so
you couldn't even put it in chat GPT.
Yeah, exactly. So I go and I finally bug him enough, and he's like, dude, he goes, you have the least amount of experience, you have the least amount of money. He's like, but you won't leave me alone. He's like, I'd willing to offer it to you. So I said, badass, man.
Ding.
So yeah. So I cashed out my 401k, I cashed out my savings, I cashed out every dollar I had, and I opened FoxGardin in 17 days.
Wow.
On the 17th day, we had our POS system, or point of sale system, come in.
That one I know.
And, okay. We had our point of sale system come in, and I called my partner at the time, and I said, hey, dude, is that point of sale getting installed today? And he's like, yeah. And I said, well, we're opening at 6 o'clock. And he was like, what? I said, I'm out of money. We're broke, dude. I don't have another dollar. So he was like, we're opening tonight. So I put a little Facebook thing out, and I said, hey, soft opening today. 6 o'clock, I called my buddy's dad. He's playing music. 6 o'clock comes around, person in the restaurant. 6:15, nobody. I'm like, I screwed this up. 6:30, nothing. 6:45, I've got
my 401k says 01k now.
Yeah. So 45 minutes later, the restaurant's full.
Oh, wow.
I don't even have a heat lamp. I'm cooking food. I've got me and one other guy back there. He's never even seen the menu. I'm like, dude, just put lettuce on this, and that gets a reduction, and go fry those potatoes. And he's like,
this is the bear right here.
Yeah.
It's funny as shit.
Yeah. And so I had a $50 steak on the menu, and it was the same steak we had down at the Steakhouse. And everybody, the whole time I was open to this restaurant, like, you are crazy. You're an idiot. Nobody's gonna spend $50 on a steak in Fortville. You what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Whatever. The last table of the night, the guy orders the $50 steak. I'm like, hell yeah. So I'm like, I cook it perfectly. I've got great marks on it. I cook it exactly the temperature I'm going to deliver it. I'm bringing it out to him. I'm like, I didn't order steak knives.
Oh,
I didn't order steak knives. So I'm bringing it out to the guy. He's sitting at the bar. And I'm thinking, man, what can I do? So
pick it up and hold it in your hand.
So I'm like, that's the way I'm walking to him. I'm like, well, I got to tell him my grandma's personal steak knife. I'm going to go grab it for, like, what do I tell this guy? So I put the steak down. I'm like, give me 1 second, sir. I'm going to grab that steak knife for you. And I go back and I'm opening up drawers and stuff. There's like a broken tipped serrated knife back there. I'm like, maybe I can lie about this.
None of your fancy chef knives.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
So I bring it out to him and he goes, dude, he's cutting with a butter knife. I was like, dude, I'm cutting a steak with a butter knife, man. This is the best steak I've ever had. Holy smokes. I never thought I'd have a filet in Fortville and cut it with a butter knife. This is unbelievable. By the end of the meal, he'd called like 10 of his buddies. The next day, they all came in, got a $50 steak. They raved about how
did
great
they all eat it with butter knives?
Yeah, they all did. Yeah, he made them all eat. And that night I'd ran to the restaurant warehouse and got steak knives, but he's like, and he made them all use a butter knife the next day. And so that was kind of our claim to fame, that we became known as a steakhouse because, we have really great product and you can cut your steaks with a butter knife. And so, true. But it was my mess up was definitely something that kind of gave us an identity and let us really kind of be known for what we do and what we do well.
We were about day 20.
Yeah.
You'd been open about 20 days when I went and had that steak.
That's funny.
So, and then you still have the steak, but you also have this pork chop.
Oh my God.
This pork chop,
like that.
I would trade a limb.
Yeah. No, it is definitely
for that pork chop. It is
definitely unique and delicious.
What makes a steak worth $50 or more in some places? What the menu says, jackass.
Yeah. There's different grades to steaks. Black Angus Prime is 2% of all the steaks, all the cows in the world. So not all cows can be graded this way. So the grade of the steak, the quality of the steak, excuse me. But yeah, that's what basically is kind of.
I got a better answer for you. The taste.
Okay. Yeah.
Like when you sit down and you have a great steak, it's not Ponderosa,
cut
baby.
with a butter knife.
It's not Sizzler.
Knife.
I mean, I hear this often at restaurants, grass-fed beef.
Don't do it.
I mean, is that
it's like grass.
Is that a thing?
He nailed it. He nailed it. It's, we talked about kind of the evolution of the restaurant industry forever. People like local and people like, sustainability and people like these things. And I tell people just because it's local or sustainable doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah.
And so, it's grass-fed just sounds good. Sounds healthy.
Yeah, right.
That's so healthy. But I'm like, it's not as flavorful. It's not as marbled. And you're right. I mean, it does have some grass flavor to it, really.
It tastes wild game.
I want
it's
a
wild
big, meaty, grain-fed, big, fat Angus cow that's got all the marbling and fat and juiciness and that sort of stuff. As a grass-fed, it does kind of lean it out and make it more healthy. But as we know, healthy it isn't always delicious. So
give me a cow that's never stood on the ground, that's been fed Heineken and rubbed every day. I think we call that Wagyu, and that's the good stuff, right?
Massage,
I want my cow to live its life never touching the ground.
And that steak, I was just in Vegas, and there's a steak there at the Prime inside the Bellagio, and I think it's $800.
What the what?
$100.
And it's a Wagyu. It's a Japanese Wagyu something.
Yeah.
And it will. When you get to that grade of a steak, it will melt in your hand. The temperature of your hand, you could wash your hands with the.
I ate a place in Nashville where we had 4 different types of Wagyu cooked at our table on a 1200-degree Himalayan salt block.
Yeah.
And we got to see the birth certificates of the cows
nose print
and everything. And then, they would on that salt block, and then it would just literally melt in your mouth.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of delightful, actually.
Yeah.
It's very delightful. We went on our anniversary to the Cane in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, nice.
It was spelled Kanye, so I really wasn't expecting much.
Yeah, right. For sure.
Everything. So yeah, so that was the start of FoxGardin, and then we wanted to do, we were 21 and over when we opened,
Okay.
and everybody would come in and say, "Man, we should bring our kids. We wanted to bring our kids. We want to bring, and so I felt like we were missing a segment of the market. I thought we were missing the teenager to 20-year-olds, and so I tried to open a restaurant in Fortville, the FoxGardin family in Fortville, and that didn't work, and so we found what used to be called Samary's. It was an Italian joint here on Olio Road and 104th Street.
Yeah.
And that came to fruition kind of quickly too. And that happened. And then Sun King happened. And then,
What do you have at Sun King?
we're called the Den inside Sun
Okay.
King Spirits down in Carmel.
Yeah,
So
I've been there.
it's a FoxGardin, but fast casual or counter service, but still no freezer. So our goal is to have our food out in 7 to 8 minutes. So almost fast food, but done well. So our menu kind of lets that happen.
We probably should shoot a show
Yeah.
at Sun
gosh.
King in Carmel and eat
Oh, my
at the
word.
Den.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
there
And
you
put
go.
that all together. That's
Yeah.
a summer project.
Yeah.
That is
They're
a
going to be
summer
opening one in Westfield as well, and we're going to take that
Yep.
kitchen as
Oh,
well.
cool.
So,
We'll have to do that one too.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Let's go.
We're gonna have to hook up some Sun King events.
Real
here.
estate makes us drink on location.
On location, yeah. So tell me how the Lapel restaurant came about, because it has some similarities to me as FoxGardin,
It's
the
full circle,
old
yeah.
school, but the food there,
Yeah.
the music venue that you have set up. Talk about that property.
Smoky's such a fun spot. My dad was Smoky Burgess.
No kidding.
Yeah, so there was a famous baseball player, played for the Pittsburgh Pirates, named Smoky Burgess. He was a catcher. And when my dad was like 7 or 8 years old, he told me that he wrote this guy a letter. He's like, "Hey, I'm a catcher, I'm like you. I can't run fast. I hit hard. All my buddies call me Smoky Burgess." And so this guy wrote him back a letter, said, "Hey, kid, don't go ahead and use my name, whatever." So in the phone book, my dad was Smoky Burgess. Everybody knew him as Smoky. So when I was 7, that Smoky's was my concession stand.
Okay.
That
Smoky's
was-
concession stand.
That was the auction house. So when it came for sale, I won't share all the details. When it came for sale, some weird stuff happened, but I'd wanted to be in Lapel. I thought that I could pull from Anderson, Noblesville, Newcastle, Pendleton, all these places that were also a food desert. And so I thought that being kind of centrally located, I could find it. So it came for sale. It happened quick. And it kind of was one of those things where it just felt right. I called my dad. We went down to Pax Verum, which is in Lapel. They do a great job. Brewery. That place is incredible. Some of the best beer in Indiana as well. No shade to
I
Sun
need to
King.
come to this side of town.
Yeah,
I mean,
no shade to
jeez.
Sun King, but they do a great job as well. And so I remember going down there, and that was actually Dad's second auction company that this guy had turned into a brewery. So I called him. I said, "Hey, Dad," I said, I got this lead on on your old auction house, on your first auction house. And I said, I want to open. I want to name it Smoky's. And he was like, "Hell yeah, man!" So that came together pretty quickly as well. We opened that, and it was just the food I wanted to eat the way I wanted to eat it. So we do pizza. I love a thin crust.
pizza.
Yeah, I love a thin crust pizza. I like fresh veggies and I like a lot of cheese on top. So I basically created this pizza that I like, and then I love fried chicken.
The fried chicken there.
Yeah.
I can't eat chicken. I'm allergic to my wife loves the fried chicken.
Yeah. So it was just fortuitous and very, it meant a lot to me, to open that place and kind of give tribute to Dad as FoxGardin, which I don't know if you're familiar or aware of, but FoxGardin, my partner at the times, his mother's maiden name was Fox,
Oh, cool.
and my mother's maiden name was Garden with an
Oh,
I.
okay.
And so we combined FoxGardin together. And so that's how that came available. I was driving down the road one day and I was like, FoxGardin, man, that's cool. Well, hell yeah. Let's
That's
do
a
that.
great
So-
name. Great
So
name.
yeah, I was going to name it Jane's Place or Plain Jane's, kind of give tribute to Mom, and it all kind of came together one day. And then so Smoky's is after Dad.
That's very cool.
Nice.
So that's kind of the
And you have an outdoor music
Yeah,
venue there
man, that's such a
just,
cool spot.
Just rocking. We've went and
Yeah.
watched several bands there. My friends Hall and
oh yeah,
Hill and
Oats. Yeah.
Hill and Oaks. Chris is
No, they are
Chris and
great.
Zach are good friends of mine, so
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
No, it's a great venue. It's a great space. It's a fun time. It's just, it's everything. It's a lot of people that love FoxGardin end up going there like, dude, this is my favorite restaurant you have. So
The ribs, I'm telling you,
yeah,
the
that's-
ribs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Gotta go
and,
several times.
Yeah,
With Telling me.
exactly. Yeah,
do you
big
still
group,
do you
big
still
group.
do the open mics Monday
Yeah,
nights?
we're gonna
in the
we're gonna-
summertime?
Yeah. So I know I keep kind of talking about the same points, but the industry's changed, and so we're trying to figure out how to make a fast casual-esque place in a small town work. As far as FoxGardin, where I'm just have a little bit more revenue just for the price of the food and the location, that sort of stuff. Smoky's needs a little bit of love, and so we've changed hours to kind of to counteract some of those things, and so that place is very dependent on the weather. So once the weather breaks, that place just really pops.
Maybe I can get Brian to drive up here this Friday night, and we could go eat at
That'd be fun.
Smoky's because
Yeah.
it's so good.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow's Friday, isn't it?
So at Smoky's, do you have regular nights for live music? And I say that because my friends on the South Side love going to places for live music, so we would make the trip.
Nope, for sure. Yeah, we I just got our list in
cool.
our schedule coming up for the summer, so I can tag it on the podcast or whatever. Just kind of
Can I ask if the Jay Baker band is going to be
Jay
playing?
Jay has not played at our places actually. He's
Why?
a great guy, good friend.
What is going on with Jay?
Come on, Jay.
You have to book him for 2027 right now.
Exactly. A lot of our places is a one-man band, as my space is so limited.
Yeah.
Smoky's is the one place that I can do a larger band. But no, Jay's, he is just so famous. He's just so great, and he's so great at what he does. But our venues, our venues don't necessarily always allow for.
Plus, he has like 300 people come with him every time he plays.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah.
But no, it's we've talked about it, but like I said, I want to make sure that to have Jay Baker, J3, or whatever we do.
Yeah.
And
you get Corey Cox in there every once in a while. We see Corey play.
Yeah, he plays a little bit. Yeah, we got
Corey's a Fortville guy with a.
I'm waiting for you to get Riley Green to come over there.
Well, my friend Riley Green is
where's Riley
A
from?
little bigger.
Riley's from Alabama.
Okay.
And Riley is he actually just got just posted yesterday. He is actually one of the highlights at CMA Fest in Nissan Stadium.
Oh,
I watched him play a bar, the Hard Rock, the Chevy Bridgestone stage to the Chevy Vibe stage now Nissan Stadium.
That's great.
It's pretty
That's
freaking
incredible.
awesome. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
There's so much talent in music, and this area produces so many talented people. The Central Indiana, I mean, the talent and music that comes out of this area is just out of this world.
Yeah,
we need more venues to highlight the music that we have in the area. It's like
it seems to be growing. Like you're saying, how that industry is changing. That I find a lot more places are getting live music.
Yeah, and
which is cool.
Yeah, when I opened Fox, I went to Nashville for like 2 weeks and just picked and chose different things. So I called FoxGardin, which you haven't been there.
We're gonna
coming soon.
But no, I mean it's a very shotgun style restaurant, similar to Nashville, where I call it musician ass in the window. That's my advertising.
Yeah,
you come in, you're gonna know there's music. I don't have to advertise music. We have big windows that open up, and you can hear from outside. But
cool.
That's what I felt like Nashville was so great at, was that that was free advertising.
Yep.
And so I stole that, and I stole 1,000 things from 1,000 different people opening restaurants, and imitation is the biggest form of flattery. And so I imitate a lot of things, and I see a lot of things that I do now imitated, but neither here nor there. But that was kind of the idea of FoxGardin, was to make it a Nashville-esque restaurant.
It has a style. There's a piece of the bar that reminds me of Nudies.
Yeah.
Even though Nudies is the longest bar in Nashville, but you have this old school, like rundown mystique, and downstairs the bar is. And
you definitely can't replicate FoxGardin, as it's
even
the building's
upstairs is great. Upstairs,
the building's 125 years old. The stairs creak when you walk in. The walls talk to you when you're there. I mean, it's just one of those things where
scary.
We tried to replicate it with FoxGardin Family, but we're in a shopping center there, so we brought the food and the service and that sort of stuff. But high ceilings and that sort of stuff doesn't necessarily work with what FoxGardin is. So.
I'm only going to help you out in one area.
Yeah.
We're going to have at least 15 additive-free, traditionally made tequilas that need to be on your bar.
I love it.
So we've come to that part of this show when we pull something down.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, going along with, listening to live music and having a good time, oftentimes is shots.
Oh.
So we're going to take a break, set up our shots. We'll be right back. I'm Brian, your Indianapolis realtor. If you are looking to buy or sell a house in the Indy area, I'm your guy. If you're coming from out of state, want to make a move to the Indy area, I'm your guy.
Check out the show notes for a link. We can get in touch and get you started. Thanks for watching. Now back to the show.
All right. Well, we are back.
Are we back?
When it comes to tequilas, Brad, I'm not usually a fan.
No.
But you threw out the idea of Fortaleza today, and I perked up. I'm like, I actually like the Fortaleza.
And this isn't a tequila I break out just for anybody, is it?
Not just for anybody.
Wow.
And I do this.
Look at you.
I do this because I know that this is available.
Actually, he knows better. He's not bringing it out for me.
It's more available for restaurants than it is
Oh.
for off-premise. On-premises restaurant, off-premises liquor stores. And Fortaleza has done a great job of flying bartenders to Tequila, Mexico, and sending them through a process of showing them how traditional tequila is made versus your Don Julio's or your Clase Azules, and showing them why to utilize a brand like this in your drinks, and teaching bartenders the difference between traditional and authentic and industrial tequila. And this is easier for you to get in your store than it is for me to find in a liquor store.
Good.
There you go.
And it is something that if you put it on the shelf, there's that big blue bottle that people order because it's a fancy blue bottle.
The bell.
But this is a tequila that people will go, what is that?
Right.
And then they find out, holy cow, this is good.
Yeah.
So I gave you a lot 126R Fortaleza Reposado.
Cheers. Thanks
And
for having me.
cheers. And tell me what you think of this as
For
tequila.
sure. Absolutely. Got some Coke.
Right?
Come on, Brad. I'm just joking.
Now I have to make him a batanga. I got to make a batanga with.
No, that is
Fortaleza.
incredible. That is very, very nice. That is very nice.
Isn't that a good
that is,
tequila?
yeah, no, that's great. I don't think you're going to find anything. I can't imagine finding anything bad here, but no, that is incredible.
The
There are some
agave
bad
flavor in a cocktail.
Yeah.
Right. If
Oh,
you're going
no.
to make a Paloma or a Cantarito, or I make a Lalo. I make it with Lalo tequila.
Yeah, yeah.
A Lalo lemon drop martini.
Do you have a favorite cocktail, favorite tequila cocktail? Or does that change too? I feel like it's a really dumb
I feel like
question.
you're a
Somebody
Paloma
has-
guy.
Somebody with 300 bottles of tequila, like,
Right.
what's your favorite?
So I do more tequila sipping than
Okay.
anything, and I don't have a favorite tequila. I have cherished
Yeah, yeah.
tequilas, but I have go-tos like Tapatito 110. This is a go-to, great agave
I want to try
flavor.
the one that's aged in the Widow Jane barrels.
Oh, that
Widow Jane.
tequila Ocho and Widow Jane's amazing as well.
Okay, cool.
El Tesoro is like a go-to. It's what I'll pour on a regular basis. But I do get so many tequilas like this.
I don't know how you tell the difference.
Well, but you don't have that
It's so
flavor
impressive.
profile. But there's so many differences in the way it's made and how the agave they use and the yeast they use and the time frame and the highlands versus the lowlands. And
It's okay if you haven't seen his show on YouTube or social media, but
Right.
holy shit, the amount of information that just comes out of
That's
his
great.
head, and he can pick out the different thing. He could be completely BS in the whole thing. Who would know, right? But it's so impressive.
not too long ago, I did a blind, and I picked three of the four. I said what three of the four tequilas were in the
Wow.
blind. I was at a steakhouse downtown Indianapolis, Tony's Steakhouse. Our friend Ruben, who's
Oh,
been
yeah.
on the show.
What's up, Ruben?
What's up,
Ruben,
Ruben? Just
he-
chatted with him last weekend.
Isn't he great?
Yeah, he's great.
So he popped over to our table and he's like so excited. He's like, I got this tequila for you to try. You got to try this. So he poured it. He gave it to me. I took a drink of it. And he's like, tell me what that is. And I was like, is that Vulcan Añejo? And he goes, no, it's Vulcan Repo. I was like,
Yeah.
damn.
Oh, that's impressive.
But it's drinking a lot of tequilas and knowing the profiles and really knowing the brands and
No, that's
how it's
great.
made. I love it.
It's definitely, definitely
I would
somebody.
not pass the blind beer test.
No,
in
I.
any way, shape, or
That
form.
You could
is
pick
cold.
Coors Light.
That is wet.
You can pick my
Tastes like
Coors Light.
beer.
Yeah. Okay, so
bad.
this is probably my favorite part because there's this restaurant in Perkinsville, Indiana, that is so famous. And we used to go there and tailgate. You spent the day.
Yeah.
Actually, the funniest thing, the older I get, the earlier I eat. One time we got there to tailgate, and they're like, we got there, it was like 4:00, and they said, we have two openings, 4:30 and 9. We're like, we eat at 4:30. We ate at 4:30. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And so we would go do the tailgate out front. You hang out, you have this great time with people, and then you go into this bar, tavern, restaurant that I think was built when Paul Revere was telling everybody the
Wow.
Yellow Jackets were coming.
The
Yeah.
Yellow Jackets. Interesting history you have.
The throbbing purple aces.
Uh-huh.
Evansville
Yeah.
School is.
It's not
And
getting better.
the food was amazing.
Please.
And then COVID happened, and it changed the way that you went there. And all of a sudden, I got a message. Hey, have you heard? Jake bought this restaurant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's only going to take amazing to the next level.
Yeah.
And we've been there twice
Yeah.
since you've owned it. Once was during one of the birthday parties where you were actually there, and it
Yeah.
was great to see you. And so tell us about this famous, unbelievable restaurant.
So Bunge's Tavern. Building was built in 1854. When you buy real estate, you know that anything before 1900 will just say 1900. usually
much.
on the title.
Yeah.
This one said 1854.
Oh, okay.
It opened in 1933, 1934, 1934.
Right after Prohibition, right?
yeah, yeah.
Would that be right?
Yeah,
at
so
the
yeah,
end?
so right at Prohibition, I think they were operating during Prohibition. So there's always stories of Capones and Dillingers and that sort of stuff being there. But anyways, Chuck Bunge opened it in 1934, and he operated it as if, it was kind of like a rough and tumble kind of place, but if you were 14 or 15 or 16 and wanted a 6-pack of beer, you knew where to go.
Oh, no
Yeah, you'd go there and be like, hey, Chuck, he'd give you a 6-pack of beer or whatever. So
Yeah.
it kind of became, just the local hangout. And then in 1999, a guy named, it's kind of convoluted, but not really, I guess. The real story is that a gentleman bought it and gutted it. His name was, it's eluding me right now, obviously. It'll come back to me. Anyways, he bought it, spent 2 or 3 years on it, just gutting it and making it all Indiana. So everything in there is Indiana. The paneling's Indiana. The light fixtures are from an old church in northern Indiana. The back, everything is just the most Indiana bar ever. And he and a gentleman named Tony Husler, which was the executive chef at the Glass Chimney, which was super famous.
Yeah, super
Carmel.
famous in Carmel.
And then he went and opened Jim Davis's restaurant up in Muncie called Foxfire, the creator of Garfield.
I was going to ask that.
And then, so Jim Davis opened a restaurant in Muncie because he'd have all these people from New York and California and LA come in. He's like, there's no place to eat. I can't wine and dine him. So he opened his own restaurant. So Tony went and did that. And then he came and bought Bunge's and operated that for 25 years. And it just became this destination. I tell everybody it's St. Elmo's and Bunge's. Those are the two restaurants in Indiana that you either want to go to, you've been to, you've heard of, you want to go. It's your favorite, whatever. But it's 12 tables. I can fit 58 people in there at a time.
Oh my God.
And so that's where the tailgating became so infamous, where you'd come up and be like, I don't have a table. So people just have beer outside. So they start drinking beer outside. And then
they would eat.
Yeah,
they'd
you'd
play
wait
Can you come in the restaurant and bring the beer outside?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So then you would come in and you would eat, you'd party in the parking lot, and you come in for dinner. And then, you'd have a great time because you're half cocked, and then whatever. So like you said, during COVID, the regulations and stipulations, you had a separation. So they started taking reservations. And what they found out is that their revenue and they started making more money because people were like not shit faced when they came in. They weren't full from the parking lot from eating charcuterie boards and whatever they were eating.
Right.
And they actually come in and not just sober up because you'd been drinking the parking lot sometimes for 5 or 6 hours. So people would come in, split an entree and drink water.
Right.
I'd much rather have a reservation.
So now we take reservations, and what we saw is that people still tailgate, but just you're not tailgating for 6 hours.
Okay.
We still came like an hour and a half early.
Yeah.
and hung
So
out.
I tell everybody, I said, come an hour early, sit in the parking lot, have a good time. Because there's, a couple weeks ago, there was 40 people in the parking lot, just before dinner. And
it's
the most Indiana thing. So
it is.
So Tony had created this monster and just really focused on. When I opened FoxGardin, they called us the Bunge's of Fort Bill because it was same thing. It was like a destination. It was super small. It was really good food, unassuming. And so when I met Tony, I was just a huge fan of his, and I just kept kind of on him. I said, "Hey man, you ever want to sell this? I'd love to be in the conversation." And he was going to give it to his daughter, and she started a family, and she's like, Dad, I don't know if I can do this. So he's like, called me one day. He's like, dude, you still interested? And I said, yeah.
Yes, I am.
And so it took us about a year to come to terms. And then once we came to terms, we've had it about a year and a half now. And so like I said, he just did such a good job with creating it and maintaining it that it was just an honor and a privilege to kind of continue the what he created. And people ask me all the time, like, "You're not going to change anything." I'm like, "I've changed 1,000 things, but nothing that's forward facing. Nothing that changes the quality of the ingredients. I mean, I tell people about the keys. We have the same staff, the same menu, the same. Then we have everything's the same. We've just tried to enhance it. So,
So
if you haven't been,
what's the food at Bunge's?
so if you've ever been to FoxGardin, which you haven't,
We're
for the second time, he hasn't been to FoxGardin. But it's a chalkboard menu. I've got 9 things on the menu, but it's everything. But it's all entrees, so no sandwiches. But it's everything from the world famous Perkinsville pork, which is by far the best pork dish I've ever had anywhere in the world.
Best pork ever in your life.
And then the pork chop is great, but we have fresh cut steaks and fresh seafood and homemade pasta and
Fresh
so
seafood. You got a pond out back.
it's on the White
So
River. On the White River. So
Excellent.
catfish is
weirdly enough, none of those fish are white.
yeah,
They're
not anymore.
brown from that dirty water.
So I mean, it's a chalkboard menu. Everybody gets the same, the world famous tomato soup. It's a red gold tomato soup that is by far the best tomato soup I've ever had. And then or a wedge salad. And then everything comes with the same 2 sides. They change every night, and then you get your protein, and then at the end you get the world famous sugar cream cake, which is just, I mean, people buy it by the cases now. People are like, "Can we get this for my birthday? Can we get this for this? Can we get this for this?" So it has definitely become the staples of the restaurant are just so
That is cool.
unique and cool.
All right.
Here's another thing you'll think's cool. Who makes your pies?
Yeah. So my mother. Jane's famous pies. She comes in every morning and makes homemade pies for us, and so
my gosh.
she's kind of become her own little celebrity that
Yeah.
and I've made them side by side with her. I've made them. I have followed the recipe, and I'll chase the side, and it's nowhere near as good.
And,
Wow.
and
So
those
it's that
change
extra
up-
little.
Those change up like at FoxGardin. You
Oh,
can
yeah.
say what is mom's pie tonight,
Yep.
and they'll
Yep.
tell you what mom's pie is.
Her
and-
pecan pies. Everybody's.
How many pies is she making in a day?
I think she told me she made 900 and something pies last year.
Wow.
There's a sugar cream pie.
Sugar cream pie is out of this world. The pecan pie is incredible. The key lime pie, I don't know how else to tell you this, but I've been to Key West, I've been to Florida. I've never had one as good. I know it's my mom. I'm a little biased, but it is incredible. And then her apple pie. I mean,
apple pie.
It's just,
That's my favorite.
The
Yeah.
apple pie.
we had a lady who used to come in and she'd get a piece of cheddar cheese on top, and her
Cheddar cheese on an apple pie.
and that apparently that's what
Oddly
they did
enough,
from the
I've heard that
30s and
before.
40s. And she would say, what'd she say? Her line was,
I mean, it's wrong, but
it's a slice without the cheese is like a kiss without the squeeze. And so
Yeah,
she
nice.
made us. So you put cheddar cheese on top of your apple pie. You put it in the oven. It melts on it, and then the saltiness and the
Oh
sweetness.
yeah, you got a savory sweet. That's like the
I've still never done it.
I'm
but
gonna
I'm
have
going to
try
have
it,
to.
Yeah.
So you got to say, I'll take a piece of cheddar.
And then do you
cheese.
throw like a scoop of ice cream with it?
Oh yeah, absolutely all mode.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there you go.
But yeah, so a slice of
apple pie is my jam. I ain't throwing any cheese on it. I actually don't want a la mode. I like the pie all by itself.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you do have
I
kind of a shallow profile. His flavor profile is like a shallow gene pool.
It is
I
so
got it.
poor.
I'll remember that when you come into FoxGardin.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Steak is good.
He'll take the pork chop with no seasoning.
Yeah.
I
Hey.
don't even do that.
I've been in this industry long enough that I like to cook the food the way you like to eat it. Where, I had a guy come in and get a 12-ounce Wagyu steak one time, butterflied well done.
No, he did not.
No.
And he said, and he got a side of ketchup with it. And he said, "You can't take the Terre Haute out of a boy." And I said, and that was the time in my life that I finally was just like, you know what? That's how he wants to enjoy it.
Yep.
I'm going to cook it how he wants it. And so people ask me, do I get offended by people? I'm like, dude, I want to cook it the way you want it.
Yeah,
You might not be the way that I like it, but I love people who are like, I don't like mushrooms. Like, no, you don't like canned mushrooms. Let me cook you a mushroom dish where I don't like the texture. Like, shut up. Let me just cook you. Yes, see?
See?
When you come in, I'll give you a perfect.
Man, I'm getting a taste.
For the Terre Haute guy, you should have
Oh.
like fried up like a little piece of railroad tie and
Yeah.
put it on there. Say it's just Korea
It's
soap.
funny if
smell
I
like.
tell you who. It's funny if I tell you who it was. It was Hilbert. It was the guy.
It wasn't Stephen Hilbert.
Yeah.
Are you
Yep,
serious?
Yep. He's from Terre Haute, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, I forgot he's
Yeah.
from Terre Haute.
But
But
yeah,
he's
he-
not watching the show. He
No, he was. But yeah, I'll never forget it. I remember where he sat, and he's like, "I'll take that." And I was like, it was my first $110 steak I ever cooked, or whatever. And he was like, "I don't want that."
butterflied
Butterflied, well done, and a side of ketchup.
and ketchup.
Yep.
Wow.
And I said, Right, dude?
Is there a chance you could just throw it on the floor 3 or 4 times?
Yeah. Oh, the requests you get from people are incredible. In in the restaurant, I had a guy tell me one time, I want that crispy on the inside. So I poked a bunch of holes in it and I threw the fryer. And I was like, this guy's he's gonna be mad at me. And he goes, that's the best steak I ever had. I was like, all right, dude.
Okay, so we're medium rare people.
Yeah. I'll eat it raw. I don't care. I mean,
My
good steak.
like,
Yeah.
move a little bit when you put the
a little
fork
love and some water. You probably would have made it.
Medium rare. I'm more of a medium guy now, but
Yeah.
not a huge difference between the two.
No, good steak. Like I said, if you're eating good steak or good proteins, that quality of food, you want to taste it.
Well, I'm going to say thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
how busy you are and running all these restaurants. And
Yeah, well, thanks for the tequila.
Is there, and we'll put this up here on the screen, is there social media people can follow?
No, we don't do social media.
No, for real?
he does. He's lying.
This tequila's got me going, man.
I know.
Tell me how good.
No,
Are we switching up the tequila? At your
absolutely.
bar?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Your bar manager.
I'm excited to share it with everybody. Yeah, so follow us on the interwebs. Obviously, our Facebook and Instagram are our best places to navigate through, kind of see what we're all about.
Does each restaurant have its own?
Each one
place?
has its own.
Okay.
And then our website is just FoxGardin, Gardin with an I.com. And that brings you into all of our concepts. So you can definitely check that out. But yeah, I mean, it's the idea is to give quality food and great service and a relaxed atmosphere. And those 3 things is what we kind of focus on. And
So when I come to FoxGardin, I don't have to dress up?
you don't have to dress up, no.
Oh.
But you might be next to somebody who's dressed up. And that's the thing. I mean, at FoxGardin, you'll see somebody in swim trunks off the lake, and you'll see somebody on their first date or an anniversary, and they sit side by side, and you're gonna get the same service and the same quality food, and you come as you are. I mean,
Awesome.
So
You could even do like an adult prom and dress up and come.
One,
back.
you should do that.
no, you have to wear a funny hat. That's what we require.
Oh,
So-
gosh,
I did not bring the funny hat today,
He has
but
the
I
big
do have
hat.
one.
You know those big dome hats?
Yeah, I told a girl one time we were at a party, and I was having a big party, and I told her, hey, we're having a party, come on over. It's like, oh, everybody's wearing funny hats. So she came over. She's like, I stopped at 3 places, and she came in, and she's like, she's the only one wearing a funny hat. And we were like, oh, it's one of my claim to fames. I just thought that was just
There's nothing better than telling the one
one
costume
person
party.
Yeah.
And they come in dressed like they're from Harry Potter or something.
Yep.
You're like, oh,
you
look
doing,
at
man?
you.
Yeah.
douche.
Why are you dressed like that, clown?
Yeah. So funny
Sorry,
hat.
I meant casino party.
Yeah. So funny hat party. That's you
Last
put that in your back pocket and tell somebody one
I'm
day.
ready.
I love
I
it.
got the funny
Yeah,
hat.
good stuff, guys.
All right, so what are you doing tomorrow night? You want to go to Smoky's or FoxGardin or one of those restaurants tomorrow night?
That will not work for me. We'll talk about that off air,
Oh,
but
man.
not tomorrow.
I bet Jake will host us at one of these meals.
I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to bring a bottle in and
Sweet.
chat with our guys. So.
I'll bring a bottle too.
All right.
Yeah.
I will not.
Jake,
Cheers. Appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
coming
Yeah,
on.
absolutely.
Appreciate you very much.
Yeah,
Thanks for
absolutely.
making such great food.
Appreciate it. Absolutely. Nice meeting you.
And check out all of the various social medias to follow Jake and all of his restaurants. And of course, give us a like and share this episode because we're awesome and you loved it.
Yeah,
Hey,
fun time.
absolutely.
All right. We'll see you next time on Real Estate Makes
See
Us
you guys.
Drink.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.